Have you ever wondered why some women seem to recover from heartbreak while others stay stuck for years? It's not because they're stronger, it's not because they hurt less, and it's not because God loves them more. I believe it comes down to one decision. In fact, I almost missed it myself because after my divorce, after losing my daughter, after walking through seasons I never would have chosen, I discovered something that changed the way I healed forever. And today, I'm going to show you where it's been hiding in the Book of Ruth all along. By the end of this video, you'll be able to identify the one relationship that may be keeping you from the next season God has for you. And once you see it, you'll never read Ruth the same way again. Now, if you've been with me through this four-part journey, and yes, 4 weeks, 4 conversations. Week 1, we sat down and we talked about what to do when life didn't go as planned. We dealt with grief, with letting go, with deciding that God is already in the next chapter. Then week 2, we went inside. We dealt with the mind. We talked about why you can leave the situation and still bring the old patterns with you into the next season. And then week 3, we went to 2 Kings chapter number 4, and we sat with the widow. We answered the God question. What do you still have? And we talked about what God does with a little jar of oil when you stop counting what's missing and start pouring what's left. But here's what I didn't tell you last week. Yeah, I left something out on purpose. See, when Elisha told that widow to go borrow vessels, he didn't tell her to go shopping. He didn't tell her to go to the market. He said, go to your neighbors. Borrow from the people around you because God's multiplication plan was always connected to community. That wasn't an accident. That was a setup for today. That's right. Come here, sis. Let's talk. See, in this final part of our series, we're talking about the one thing the enemy has worked hardest to take from you. Not your health, not your finances, not your confidence. The one thing he's worked hardest to destroy is the right women in your life because he knows what you haven't fully believed yet, that you were never designed to build alone. There was a season after my divorce when I convinced myself that I was fine. I loved God. I prayed. I read my Bible. I showed up when people expected me to. But in my house, it was quiet. I wasn't just grieving the loss of a marriage. I was grieving the loss of my circle. Some friendships changed. Some people didn't know what to say. Others quietly disappeared. And if I'm honest, I told myself it's easier this way. I don't need anybody. I can figure this out, right? It sounded like strength, but it was actually self-protection. And God had to lovingly show me that healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in healthy connection. Now, I need to say something before we go any further. In a moment, I'm going to tell you about 3 types of women God sends in a rebuilding season. And I think at least one of them is already in your life right now, and you may not even recognize her yet. So stay with me because before I get to that, I need to take you to the book in the Bible that does not talk about money. It does not talk about miracles. It doesn't talk about prophecy or fire from heaven. It's a love story, but not the kind that you think. And there are 6 words in that book. 6 words that most people read right past. And when I show them to you today, I believe it's going to completely change how you see every woman God has placed in your life. All right, this is part 4. And if you haven't watched parts 1, 2, and 3, after this video, go back. We've been building something. And today, it's the roof, okay? All right, now let me deal with something. There is a mindset, and I see it especially in women who have been hurt, A mindset that sounds like strength, but is actually a wound. I kind of mentioned it before in my story. It sounds like this: I don't need anybody. I'll figure it out myself. I've been let down too many times. I'd rather do it alone than to get hurt again. I understand that. I feel you. It's also my natural response. Buckle down and do it myself. That's right. I'll prove them wrong type of attitude. That's what I would have. And to be honest with you, it happened to me recently. And believe me, I had to fight against it regularly. But I'm not going to stand here and dismiss what somebody did to you. The betrayal was real. The abandonment was real. The friends who disappeared when the marriage ended, that was real. The family members who chose sides, that was real. The one that decided not to help you find that next position, that's real too. See, forgiveness is in the Bible though, but it doesn't mean that I have to treat you as if you didn't show me who you really are. There was a post the other day that I saw. It says, I can forgive you and still move like I remember exactly what you showed me. Believe me, sis, I took that one to heart. But, hear me. Choosing isolation because of a bad connection is like refusing to eat because one meal made you sick. The solution is not no food. The solution is better discernment about what you put on your plate. So, from my devotionals in my book, Divinely Connected Sister to Sister, the 260 devotionals walking you through life together, right? The idea is God did not design you to carry it alone, but the enemy will use every painful connection to convince you that connection itself is the problem. It isn't. Wrong connections are the problem. Right connections are your provision. Let me say that one again for the people in the back. Right connections are your provision. See, every devotion in the book, you pour me or you pour yourself some tea, your reflection. And then there's that to-do list that you fill out every single time. One is for you. The other is, what are you going to do for another sister? So it provokes you to conversation. It provokes you to community. So again, I'm going to say this for the people in the back that didn't hear me the first time. Right connections are your provision. Ecclesiastes, the 4th chapter, the 9th through the 12th verse says this. It says, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. And then in verse 12, it says, though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Or you might have heard not easily broken. And we typically tie that to marriage. But this is Solomon. This is wisdom literature. Solomon is the wisest man who ever lived. He isn't necessarily talking about romantic love here, right? Though it can be related. He's talking about covenant relationships. Notice I said relationships, plural. He's talking about the kind of connection where someone shows up when you fall, where you don't have to explain your tears because they already know your story, where the cord is so strong that what the enemy uses to pull one of you down, it gets absorbed by the strength of the connection. That's not weakness. That's God's design. But here's the thing, and stay with me, come on, because this is where we're going today. Solomon could describe that kind of connection because somewhere in his lineage, a woman had already lived it. And her name? was Ruth. See, I coached a woman recently who said, Dr. Chonta, I keep praying for God to open doors. And then after talking with her for about an hour, I realized the problem wasn't the closed doors. It was closed people. She had shut everyone out after being betrayed. She wanted God's provision without God's people. Can I tell you something? Within months of allowing herself to reconnect with healthy women, she found accountability, encouragement, business opportunities, and friendship she didn't know she needed. Nothing about God changed. Her willingness to receive people did. And I'll tell you about that community later. All right. So now most people come to the book of Ruth looking for a love story between Ruth and Boaz. We've heard it. We look for those qualities in a companion. And I'm not going to go into all the asses that we talk about. It makes it fun. It makes it exciting. It makes it enjoyable. And yes, that relationship described is absolutely beautiful. We even got movies about it now. But we'll talk about that another day. Today, we're not going to Boaz. Today, we're going to Naomi. That's right. Because the real love story in this book isn't romantic, it's sisterly. So let me give you the backdrop. Naomi has lost everything, her husband, her boys, everything, right? Because she's in Moab. Her husband is dead. Both of her sons are dead. She's a widow in a foreign land with 2 daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, and nothing else. She decides to go back to her home country, Bethlehem, and she tells both daughters-in-law to go back to their own families. Start over, find new husbands. She releases them. She says, I can't give you something. I can't do anything for you. Orpah does it. She kisses Naomi, she cries a little bit, and then she goes back. And I want to be clear, that was not wrong. That was practical, it was logical, it was a reasonable thing to do. Naomi even told her to do it. But Ruth stays. And this is where the 6 words are. Okay, Ruth chapter number 1, verse 16. It says, but Ruth said, do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. Now, that's not the 6 words yet. Then she says, for where I go, or where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Not yet. She says, your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. And then verse 17, here they are, 6 words. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. Where you die, I will die. 6 words. Queen, that was not a polite goodbye hug. That is not a friendship bracelet. That is a covenant declaration. Ruth is saying, your ending is my ending. Your story is my story. Your God is my God. I am not leaving you in your worst moment. Oh, I got chills. Now, here's what most people miss. Naomi was not offering Ruth anything. She had no money, no land in her name, no sons left to marry Ruth. She was empty-handed, going home in disgrace. She even said, call me Mara. I'm bitter. She was, by every human calculation, a liability. And Ruth chose her anyway. I don't want you to miss this. Ruth stayed before there was any evidence that staying would pay off. No Boaz, no field, no wedding, no restoration, just loyalty. Sometimes obedience comes before opportunity. See, not every divine connection comes with a bonus. Some come with a burden. And the ones who stay through the burden, those are the ones that God uses to carry you to your Boaz. And look what happens. if you finish the story, because Ruth stays connected to Naomi, because she does not do the isolated, reasonable, self-protective thing, she ends up in the field of Boaz, a kinsman redeemer, a man of great wealth, a man who restores everything that was lost. Ruth didn't find Boaz by looking for Boaz. She found Boaz by staying loyal to Naomi. See, your right connections will lead you to your right provisions, but you have to be willing to stay in the relationship even when it costs you something. And no, this message is not about you finding your Boaz, if you would, as far finding your man, your boo thing, your whatever. It's not about that. But I promised you this. I promised you 3 types of women that God sent in a rebuilding season. And Queen, I want you to think about your circle right now, because I believe at least one of these women is already there. And you may just not have recognized her assignment yet. Type number 1, the Naomi. It's the woman who has been where you are. See, the Naomi in your life is not perfect. She is not polished. She is, in fact, carrying her own grief while she walks beside yours. She might even try to push you away. Go on, get back to your old life, she might say. I don't want to be a burden to you. I don't want to be your burden, she might say. Because that's what broken people do. They minimize themselves. But she has something the polished, put together woman doesn't have. She has experiential wisdom. She has been to Moab and back. She knows what survival looks like from the inside. And when God sends you a Naomi, stay. Don't be put off by her mess. Her mess is actually her message. And your loyalty to her is the road that leads to your harvest. Now, don't answer out loud yet. Who taught you how to survive? See, someone's face just came to your mind. Don't ignore that. Type 2, the Ruth, the woman who won't leave. See, the Ruth in your life is the one who shows up when everyone else has a reason to leave. She's not obligated. She's not in your family. She doesn't owe you anything, but she chooses you again and again. Here's how to identify her. She's the one who still calls after the 3rd week when everybody else has gone back to their own life. She's the one who tells you the truth in love when everyone else is just being agreeable. She's the one whose loyalty doesn't shift when your status does. Do you have a Ruth? If you do, call her this week. Tell her you see her, because women like that often give and give and give, and nobody ever says, I see your loyalty. Thank you for staying. Who's the woman who never stopped checking on you? That's probably your Ruth. Type 3, the Boaz. That's the community, the room, and the table. See, now in your life, Boaz doesn't have to be a man. Boaz is the room that God leads you to because of your right connections. Boaz is the community. It's the retreat, the circle, the table that has been set with women who are going where you're going. And here's the key you cannot miss. See, Ruth didn't go looking for Boaz. She went looking for provision, just a corner of a field to glean in. She had a major work ethic here. Just something to get by. Boaz found her because Naomi knew where to send her. Your Naomi is connected to your Boaz. Your community is connected to your provision. This is why the enemy fights your connection so hard. He's not just keeping you lonely, he's keeping you from the field. Where's the room you've been afraid to enter? The conference, the Bible study, the coaching program, the community. Could that be your field? All right, Queen. I know some of you are probably sitting there thinking, Dr. Chonta, this sounds beautiful, but I've been hurt. I don't know how to trust again. How do I let people in when I've been burned by the people who were supposed to be my community? Oh, girl, I hear you. And I want to give you 3 practical postures for rebuilding a sister circle in a season when trust is broken. First, start vertical before you go horizontal. Lord, I need you to help me with the people. Got it? See, before you add new women into your life, go to God and ask Him specifically, who did you send? Who is assigned to this season of my life? Because, see, not every woman who wants to be in your circle belongs there. Discernment is not distrust, it's wisdom. Pray for God to highlight the Ruths and remove the Orphas. Not because Orpah was bad, but because she was not assigned to Naomi's next chapter. All right. Second, be willing to be a Ruth before you get a Naomi. Now, here's the truth that might sting a little bit. You can say ouch on your toes if you want to. Some of us want to receive the community before we've been willing to give it. We want the sister circle, but we're not showing up as a sister. See, loyalty is first a practice, then a pattern. So start showing up for the women already in your life with Naomi level consistency and watch what God releases in return. Third, stop waiting to feel ready. You will not feel ready. Trust me. Ruth didn't feel ready. She was a widow herself. She was in a foreign country. She was gleaning grain in somebody else's field. She started where she was with what she had, and she showed up consistently. The feeling of readiness comes after action, not before it. Now, I have to say something before we close this series out. Everything that we've talked about over these 4 weeks, dealing with unexpected life, renewing your mind, focusing on what's left, building right connections, this is not just content. This is a way of living, and you don't have to live it alone. If you've been watching this series and thinking, I need this, I need a sister circle, I need women around me who are going where I'm going, who love God and are rebuilding and building at the same time, then I want to personally invite you into the Crowned by Design collective community. That's where queenpreneurs come together. That's the field where God is doing something. I'll put the link in the description and you can find us there. And if you've been watching and thinking, but I'm not an entrepreneur, this series wasn't really for me, let me stop you right there, Queen. This series was never just about business. It's about life. It's about who you are becoming. Every woman going through a transition, divorce, loss, career shift, rebuilding, you belong in this conversation. Share this series with someone who needs it. See, I often wonder what would have happened if Ruth had listened to logic. She never would have met Boaz. Naomi never would have seen restoration. King David's family line changes. Jesus' genealogy changes. All because one woman refused to walk away. It reminds me of a season, of different seasons actually in my own life. If I had isolated after losing my daughter or after my divorce, I honestly don't know if Heart to Heart Truth Ministries would exist today. The women God brought into my life didn't erase my pain, but they helped me carry it. And sometimes that's the miracle. All right, let me close this series by tying it all together, because here's what we've actually built over 4 weeks. Part 1, you learn to grieve with purpose, to let go of the former things, to position yourself for hope. You stop letting what was taken determine what was left. And then in part 2, you went to the mind, you interrupted the loop, you changed your input, you started speaking until you believe, and you stop being conformed and you start being transformed. And then in part 3, you answered the God question. You named it. What was in your hands? You borrowed boldly. You closed the door and you poured. You stopped mourning what was missing and you start multiplying what remained. And today in part 4, you identified the women God sends. You met Naomi and Ruth. You understood that your connections are your provisions, and you decided you were done building alone. So, Queen, can I tell you something? From the book Divinely Connected, Sister to Sister, those 260 devotionals, the 260 mornings of sister to sister conversations, the very title of that book is the message of this whole series. Divinely connected, not accidentally connected, not circumstantially connected, divinely. See, every right relationship in your life was authored before you arrived at it. So watch for them, pray for them, stay in them. And to every woman who has walked this 4-week journey with me, before you leave today, I want you to do one thing. Text one woman, just one. I want you to tell her, thank you for staying. That's what you're going to type. You may never know how much those 4 words mean to someone who's been faithfully carrying your heart. Then come back and I want you to type below, I thanked by Ruth. Because I believe gratitude unlocks relationships that the enemy has been trying to silence. Been saying it all along. The enemy isolates what's hurting, but God connects what's healing. And if you're new here and you found part 4 first, go back and start with the beginning. Part 1 is linked. I'm going to link it here at the end. So watch the full series and you'll thank yourself. All right. I'm Dr. Chonta Haynes, your destiny designer, also known as your biblical money management expert, helping you put feet to your faith so that you can walk victoriously. Have a blessed and a prosperous rest of your day. God bless.